I'm Jessica Matthews, 28 years old, and my dream wedding nearly turned into a nightmare when my stepsister Amber decided to wear white. After 15 years as family, I thought I knew her competitive streak, but nothing prepared me for seeing her emerge in a gown rivaling mine just hours before I walked down the aisle. The betrayal stung deeper than I could have imagined, threatening to unravel the perfect day I had meticulously planned for a year. Before I tell you how my wedding day nearly turned into a disaster, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button to join me for more stories about family drama and unexpected twists. My childhood before my mom remarried was just the two of us against the world. My father passed away when I was 7 from a sudden heart attack, leaving Mom to raise me alone in our small 2-bedroom apartment. We didn't have much, but we had each other. Mom worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, and I became independent at a young age, learning to cook simple meals and do laundry while other kids my age were still having playdates. Everything changed when I was 13. Mom met David at her accounting job, and their relationship blossomed quickly. He was kind, stable, and looked at my mother like she hung the moon. I was cautiously optimistic when they started dating. I wanted my mom to be happy, but I was protective of our little unit. David was divorced with a daughter of his own, Amber, who was 11 at the time. Our first meeting was awkward to say the least. Amber had long blonde hair and piercing blue eyes that sized me up immediately. While our parents chatted enthusiastically, we sat in uncomfortable silence at the restaurant table, picking at our food. "Do you like video games?" I finally asked, trying to break the ice. "That's for boys," she responded dismissively, twirling her straw in her soda. When our parents announced their engagement 6 months later, I tried to be happy. The wedding was small but beautiful, and afterward, we moved into David's larger house in the suburbs. Suddenly, I had to share everything: my mom's attention, bathroom time, and personal space. The first year was rough. Amber and I fought over everything: which TV shows to watch, whose turn it was to do dishes, and who got to sit in the front seat of the car. She would borrow my clothes without asking and return them stained or stretched out. When I confronted her, she'd put on an innocent act in front of our parents. "I thought we were supposed to share now that we're sisters," she'd say with wide eyes, and David would give me a disappointed look that made me feel like the villain. But something shifted when Amber started high school. Perhaps it was because I helped her navigate the confusing hallways on her first day, or maybe it was the time I stood up for her when a group of girls were gossiping about her in the bathroom. Gradually, our relationship evolved. We started having late-night talks about boys and music, and I helped her with her homework. By the time I left for college, we had developed a genuine bond. Still, there was always an underlying current of competition with Amber. If I got an A on a paper, she needed an A+. When I made the volleyball team, she tried out for cheerleading and made team captain. When I brought home my first serious boyfriend, she suddenly had 3 guys calling the house. It was like she couldn't stand being in my shadow, always needing to one-up me. After college, I moved back to our hometown and started working as an event planner. The irony of this career choice wouldn't hit me until later. I met Michael at a charity gala I was organizing. He was tall with warm brown eyes and a laugh that made everyone around him smile. As a pediatric nurse, he had a natural way with people that complemented my more organized, detail-oriented nature. For years into our relationship, Michael proposed during a sunset hike to our favorite overlook. It was perfect, intimate and meaningful, exactly what I would have chosen. When we announced our engagement at Sunday family dinner, everyone was thrilled. Mom cried happy tears, David gave heartfelt congratulations, and Amber squealed with excitement, immediately asking to see the ring. "It's beautiful," she said, examining my 3-stone diamond. "I always pictured something a bit larger for myself, but this suits you perfectly." Despite the backhanded compliment, I chose to focus on the positive. In a moment of genuine sisterly affection, I asked Amber to be my maid of honor. Her eyes widened with surprise before she launched herself into my arms. "Yes. Oh my God, yes. I'll make sure everything is perfect for you." For a while, things were great. Amber helped me create wedding Pinterest boards and accompanied me to initial venue visits. She seemed genuinely invested in helping create my dream day. But as planning progressed, small comments started to creep in. "Are you sure about that venue? It seems a bit basic. Blue and silver as your colors? Didn't your high school rival have the same palette for prom? I know you love that cake design, but wouldn't something more elaborate really wow your guests?" Each suggestion came with the implication that my choices weren't good enough. Still, I tried to include her, valuing her opinion even when it differed from mine. Michael noticed the tension during a cake tasting when Amber kept pushing for an ornate fondant design over my preferred simple buttercream. "Is everything okay with you and Amber?" he asked on the drive home. "She seems to be fighting you on every decision." "She just has strong opinions," I defended, though doubt had begun to settle in my stomach. "She wants the wedding to be perfect." "It's not her wedding," Michael reminded me gently. "It's ours." As the big day approached, Amber's behavior became increasingly concerning. During bridesmaid dress shopping, she complained about the pale blue gown I had selected. "This color washes me out completely," she whined, turning in front of the mirror. "And the cut makes my shoulders look huge." My other bridesmaids, my college roommate Kayla, my cousin Sarah, and my coworker Jen, exchanged glances but said nothing as they stood in identical dresses that looked lovely on everyone. "We can look at other styles," I offered, not wanting conflict. No, Amber sighed dramatically. "If this is what you want, I'll make it work. I just want you to be happy." The guilt trip worked, and I spent another 3 hours looking at alternative styles before ultimately returning to my original choice, exhausted and frustrated. The final straw came during a family dinner 2 weeks before the wedding. As we discussed last-minute details, Amber casually mentioned that she had something special planned. "What do you mean?" I asked, immediately concerned. "Just a little surprise," she said with a secretive smile. "Something to make your day even more memorable." My stomach dropped. In my experience as an event planner, surprises on wedding days rarely went well. They usually meant disrupted timelines and unnecessary stress for the couple. "Amber," my mom interjected, noticing my expression, "perhaps you should clear any surprises with Jessica first. Wedding days are carefully orchestrated." "Don't worry," Amber assured, patting my hand condescendingly. "Trust me, it'll be perfect." But trust was exactly what I was beginning to lose. My vision for the wedding was classic elegance with personal touches. We'd booked a beautiful vineyard venue with rolling hills and a rustic reception barn that we planned to transform with twinkling lights, flowing fabric, and floral arrangements in soft blue and silver. I wanted something timeless that wouldn't look dated in photos years later. The guest list had grown to 150 people, larger than I initially wanted, but unavoidable once we included extended family and close friends. Michael was easygoing about most decisions but had strong opinions about the food, stations instead of a formal sit-down, and music, a DJ who wouldn't play the chicken dance under any circumstances. Finding my dress was a magical experience, at least initially. Mom, Amber, and my bridesmaids accompanied me to an upscale boutique downtown. After trying on 7 dresses, I emerged in an A-line gown with delicate lace overlay, a sweetheart neckline, and tiny pearl buttons down the back. The moment I saw myself in the mirror, tears welled in my eyes. This was it. "Oh, Jess," my mom whispered, hands clasped to her chest. "You look absolutely beautiful." My bridesmaids cooed in agreement, but Amber remained silent, studying the dress with an unreadable expression. "What do you think, Amber?" I asked, needing her approval despite myself. "It's nice," she said with a tight smile. "Very safe." The consultant, sensing tension, quickly interjected, "This silhouette is extremely flattering on your figure. The lace detail is exquisite, handmade in France." I forced myself to ignore Amber's lukewarm response and focus on how the dress made me feel. This was my decision, not hers. As planning continued, Amber's passive-aggressive behavior escalated. She accidentally spilled red wine on the fabric samples I had brought home to show my mom. She suggested changes to the timeline that would have thrown off the entire day. She kept forgetting important details I had asked her to handle, like confirming the hair appointments for the bridal party. One afternoon, I arrived at her apartment to drop off the bridesmaids' gifts, monogrammed jewelry boxes containing pearl earrings for everyone to wear at the ceremony. I knocked, but there was no answer, though I could hear movement inside. After waiting several minutes, I used the spare key she had given me for emergencies. "Amber?" I called, stepping into the apartment. I found her in the living room, quickly covering something on her couch with a throw blanket when she saw me. "Jessica. You scared me," she exclaimed, cheeks flushed. "I didn't hear you knock." "Sorry, I did knock. What are you working on?" I gestured to the hidden project. "Just a little something. Nothing important." She stood, physically blocking my view. "Did you need something?" I handed her the gift bags, explaining their contents and reminding her about our final dress fitting the next day. "Right, yes, the fitting," she said distractedly. "Actually, I might be a few minutes late. Work meeting." It was Saturday. Amber worked as a dental hygienist at a practice that wasn't open on weekends. I chose not to call her out on the obvious lie, instead smiling tightly and leaving with an unsettled feeling. Michael noticed my distraction that evening as we finalized our vows. "Wedding jitters?" he asked, massaging my shoulders as I stared blankly at my notebook. "Amber," I admitted. "She's being weird. Weirder than usual." He kissed the top of my head. "Try not to let her get to you. In 2 weeks, we'll be married and on a beach in Hawaii, and none of this will matter." I leaned back into his chest, drawing strength from his steady presence. "You're right. I'm not going to let her ruin this for us." But my resolve was tested again at the bachelor and bachelorette parties. We had planned a joint celebration, a wine tasting tour followed by dinner at our favorite restaurant. The day before, Amber called with a better idea. "I've rescheduled everything," she announced proudly. "The guys are going golfing, and we girls are doing a spa day followed by clubbing downtown." "You did what?" I asked, incredulous. "Amber, everything was already booked and paid for. Michael and I specifically chose an activity we'd both enjoy." "Trust me, this is how it's done," she insisted. "Couples don't celebrate together. It's tradition to have separate parties." "It's our wedding, our choice," I countered firmly. "Please cancel whatever you arranged. We're sticking with the original plan." For once, Amber backed down, though she sulked throughout the entire wine tour and barely touched her food at dinner. Several times I caught her typing furiously on her phone, her expression stormy. As we approached the final week before the wedding, my anxiety reached new heights. I'd planned countless events for clients, anticipating and solving problems before they arose. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Amber was the unpredictable variable in my own wedding equation, the one factor I couldn't control. The final dress fitting was scheduled for 10 days before the wedding. My mom, Kayla, and I arrived at the boutique precisely on time, but Amber was conspicuously absent. After waiting 20 minutes, I tried calling her, but the call went straight to voicemail. "Should we reschedule?" the seamstress asked, glancing at her appointment book. "No," I decided firmly. "We'll proceed without her." She knew what time to be here. My dress fit perfectly, needing only a minor adjustment to the bustle. As I stood on the pedestal, admiring how the alterations had enhanced the gown's silhouette, the boutique door chimed. Amber rushed in, breathless and flustered. "I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, setting down her oversized purse. "Traffic was a nightmare, and my phone died." I noticed her hair looked freshly styled and her nails newly manicured, not the appearance of someone who had been stuck in traffic. Before I could comment, the seamstress asked her to try on her bridesmaid dress for final alterations. "Oh," Amber said, looking uncomfortable. "I actually picked mine up last week. I came in for a separate appointment." This was news to me. "Why would you do that?" "The whole point was for all of us to be here together to make sure the dresses coordinate properly." I had a cancellation at work and was in the area, she explained smoothly. Don't worry, it fits perfectly. You have enough to stress about. My mom gave me a warning look that clearly said, let it go. I bit my tongue and focused on completing my own fitting, but the incident added to my growing unease. The rehearsal dinner 2 nights before the wedding only intensified my concerns. We had reserved a private room at an upscale Italian restaurant near the venue. Family and the wedding party gathered for a casual run-through of the ceremony followed by dinner. Amber arrived 45 minutes late, apologizing profusely about a work emergency, though her immaculate appearance suggested she'd spent the time getting ready. During dinner, my stepdad David stood to give a toast. He spoke beautifully about watching Michael and me grow as a couple and how proud he was to welcome Michael to our family. Mom followed with tearful words about how happy my father would have been to see me find such a wonderful partner. When it was Amber's turn as maid of honor, she tapped her glass and stood, wearing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. When Jessica first introduced me to Michael, she began, I have to admit I was jealous. Not just because he's obviously a catch, she winked at my fiancé, who shifted uncomfortably, but because I knew he would take my sister away from me. We've had our ups and downs, but Jess has always been there for me. Tomorrow she'll become a wife, and I'll have to share her even more. She raised her glass. To Jessica and Michael. May your marriage be as perfect as Jessica has always tried to be. The toast was just ambiguous enough that others might have interpreted it as sweet, but Michael's furrowed brow told me he'd caught the undercurrent of resentment. I plastered on a smile and clinked glasses, determined not to let her backhanded comments ruin the evening. Later, as guests mingled over dessert, I excused myself to use the restroom. Passing by a quiet alcove, I overheard Amber on her phone. Yes, it's still in the garment bag. No, she has no idea. The white one, yes. It'll be perfect, trust me. My blood ran cold. A white dress? At my wedding? She wouldn't dare, would she? I confronted her as she ended the call. Amber, what are you planning? She jumped, nearly dropping her phone. Jessica. You scared me. I heard you talking about a white dress, I said, cutting to the chase. Please tell me you're not planning to wear white to my wedding. Her eyes widened with feigned innocence. What? No, of course not. That was about a project for a friend. A bridal shower decoration. The explanation was flimsy at best, but with guests nearby and no concrete evidence, I couldn't push further without causing a scene. I nodded stiffly and returned to the party, but the knot in my stomach had tightened. On the drive home, I shared my concerns with my mom. Honey, I think you're overthinking this, she said, patting my hand. Amber can be self-centered sometimes, but she wouldn't do something that outrageous. She loves you. I don't know, Mom. Something feels off. Wedding jitters, she assured me. Try to get some sleep. Everything will be fine tomorrow. But that night, sleep eluded me. I tossed and turned, plagued by nightmares of Amber showing up in a wedding gown, pushing me aside at the altar, or spilling red wine on my dress. I woke up exhausted and on edge. The next day, the day before the wedding, the bridesmaids gathered at my apartment for a light lunch and final discussion of wedding day logistics. Amber texted that she'd be a little late but to start without her. Kayla, seeing my frustration, pulled me aside. Has Amber been acting weird, or is it just me? She whispered. Definitely not just you, I confirmed. I overheard her talking about a white dress at the rehearsal dinner. Kayla's eyes widened. You don't think? I don't know what to think anymore. We should check her room at your parents' house, Kayla suggested. If she's planning something, there might be evidence. Under normal circumstances, I would have dismissed the idea as an invasion of privacy, but my anxiety overrode my better judgment. After lunch, Kayla and I made an excuse to stop by my parents' house, where Amber was staying for the wedding weekend. Mom was out running last-minute errands, giving us the perfect opportunity. We slipped into Amber's guest room and began a careful search. In the closet, we found what we were looking for, a large white garment bag from an upscale boutique across town. My hands trembled as I reached for the zipper. "What are you doing?" We whirled around to find Amber standing in the doorway, arms crossed and eyes blazing. "I can explain," I stammered, though no reasonable explanation came to mind. "Get out of my room," she demanded, voice dangerously low. "Now." Kayla and I retreated, shamefaced but still suspicious. In the hallway, Amber confronted us. "I can't believe you were snooping through my things. On the day before your wedding." "I heard you talking about a white dress," I said defensively. "What was I supposed to think?" "You were supposed to trust me," she snapped. "I'm your maid of honor, your sister." "Then tell me what's in the garment bag," I challenged. For a moment, uncertainty flickered across her face. Then she composed herself. "It's a surprise. A good one. You'll see tomorrow." She turned and stormed back into the room, slamming the door behind her. Kayla squeezed my arm. "We'll keep an eye on her tomorrow. If she tries anything, we'll handle it." I nodded, but as we left, the pit in my stomach had grown into a chasm. Tomorrow was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Now I was dreading what my own sister might do. I woke up on my wedding day to sunshine streaming through the hotel suite curtains. For a brief, blissful moment, I forgot all about the tension with Amber, focusing instead on the fact that by sunset, I would be Mrs. Jessica Cooper. Then reality came flooding back, along with the anxiety that had kept me awake most of the night. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Can't wait to see you walk down the aisle. I love you." His simple message centered me. This day was about us, our love, our commitment, our future. I wouldn't let anything ruin that. The suite quickly filled with activity as my bridesmaids arrived one by one. Kayla brought coffee and pastries. My cousin Sarah set up a playlist of upbeat songs. Jen arranged the makeup station by the window where the lighting was best. Mom came bearing mimosas and misty eyes, already emotional at the sight of my dress hanging in the corner. "Has anyone heard from Amber?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Exchanged glances told me everything I needed to know. No one had. "I'm sure she'll be here soon," Mom said, though her furrowed brow betrayed her concern. "Why don't we start getting ready?" The hairstylist and makeup artist arrived, setting up their stations efficiently. We were halfway through hair when Amber finally breezed in, 2 hours late, carrying several bags including a large garment bag that she quickly hung in the closet before anyone could get a good look at it. "Sorry I'm late," she announced, not sounding sorry at all. Morning traffic was insane. I bit my tongue, reminding myself that confrontation would only waste precious time. "You're here now. That's what matters." The next hour passed in a flurry of hairspray, mascara, and nervous laughter. I tried to stay present, to savor these moments with the women I loved, but my eyes kept darting to the closet where Amber's mysterious garment bag hung. "You look absolutely beautiful," the makeup artist declared as she finished my look, natural but enhanced, exactly what I had requested. Mom helped me into my wedding dress, carefully fastening each delicate pearl button down the back. When I turned to look in the full-length mirror, I barely recognized myself. The woman staring back at me looked serene, ethereal, and unmistakably bridal. "Oh, Jessica," Mom whispered, tears threatening to ruin her own makeup. "You're a vision." My bridesmaids gathered around, appropriately awed. Kayla adjusted my veil while Sarah snapped photos on her phone. Even Jen, usually stoic, looked emotional. The only person missing from this perfect moment was Amber, who had disappeared into the bathroom with her garment bag nearly 20 minutes ago. "Should someone check on her?" Sarah suggested, voicing what everyone was thinking. Before anyone could volunteer, the bathroom door swung open, and Amber stepped out. Time seemed to stop as we all stared in disbelief. She was wearing white. Not just any white, but a floor-length white gown with lace detailing and a sweetheart neckline that bore a striking resemblance to a wedding dress, wedding dress, in fact, though with a lower cut and more embellishment. "What do you think?" she asked, twirling to show off the full effect. "I had it custom made. The designer said the silhouette would be perfect for my figure." The room fell deathly silent. Even the photographer, who had just arrived to capture pre-ceremony moments, lowered her camera in shock. "Amber," my mother finally spoke, her voice dangerously quiet. "What are you doing?" "What?" Amber looked around innocently. "It's not white. It's more of an ivory. And look, it is blue beading, so it matches the wedding colors." The beading in question was so subtle it was nearly invisible. No one would notice it from more than 2 feet away. What they would notice was a woman in what appeared to be a wedding gown standing next to the bride. Something inside me snapped. All the months of passive-aggressive comments, the subtle sabotages, the competitive one-upmanship, it had culminated in this deliberate attempt to steal attention on the one day that should have been about Michael and me. "No," I said, surprised by the steadiness of my voice. "Absolutely not. You are not wearing that to my wedding." Amber's expression hardened. "I spent a fortune on this dress. I had it specially designed." "I don't care if you sold your car to pay for it," I retorted. "You know exactly what you're doing, and I won't allow it." "You're overreacting," she scoffed. "It's just a dress." "It's a wedding dress." Kayla interjected, stepping forward protectively. "You can't wear a white gown to someone else's wedding. It's literally the one color you're not supposed to wear." "Since when are you the fashion police?" Amber snapped at her. My mother moved between us, her expression stern. "Amber, this is inappropriate. You need to change into your bridesmaid dress immediately." "That hideous blue thing?" Amber laughed bitterly. "It makes me look washed out. Jessica knew that when she picked it." "This isn't about you." I exploded, months of frustration boiling over. "For once in your life, this isn't about you. This is my wedding day." "Of course it is," she shouted back. "It's always about you. Perfect Jessica with her perfect job and her perfect fiancé and her perfect life. Some of us are tired of standing in your shadow." The room fell silent again, her words hanging in the air like poison. I felt as though I'd been slapped. After all these years, after all the times I'd supported her, defended her, included her, this was how she really felt. "If that's how you see me," I said quietly, "then you shouldn't be here at all." "What do you mean?" Her eyes narrowed. "I mean you have 2 choices," I stated firmly. "Change into the bridesmaid dress we agreed on, or leave. You're not standing beside me in white." The standoff might have continued indefinitely if not for a knock at the door. The best man, Ryan, poked his head in, then quickly averted his eyes when he realized I was in my dress. "Sorry to interrupt," he said awkwardly. "Just checking on the timeline. The planner says we're running about 30 minutes behind schedule." His presence brought a sudden dose of reality to the room. The ceremony was supposed to start in less than an hour. Guests would be arriving. Michael would be waiting. And here we were, locked in a sisterly showdown instead of making final preparations. "Tell her we'll be ready soon," my mother assured him. Ryan nodded and retreated, but not before casting a confused glance at Amber in her inappropriate attire. "I need some air," I announced, grabbing my phone and heading for the balcony. Once outside, I took several deep breaths of the cool autumn air, trying to center myself. This was not how I had imagined my wedding morning. Inside, I could hear raised voices, my mother and Amber arguing, Kayla's indignant tone, someone else trying to mediate. I tuned it out, focusing instead on a text from Michael. "Everything okay?" Ryan said there might be a delay. How could I possibly explain this situation? Slight hiccup, I typed back. "Nothing we can't handle. I love you." As I stared out at the Vineyard Hills where we would soon say our vows, I realized I had a choice to make. I could let Amber's behavior destroy my day, or I could rise above it. This wedding wasn't about dresses or family drama, it was about Michael and me, starting our life together. With renewed determination, I turned back toward the suite, prepared to make a final stand. It was time to reclaim my wedding day, one way or another. When I re-entered the suite, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Amber stood defiantly in her white dress, arms crossed, while my bridesmaids formed a protective semicircle around my mother, who looked on the verge of tears. "I've made my decision," I announced, drawing everyone's attention. "Amber, I love you, but I cannot and will not have you standing beside me in what is clearly a wedding dress. It's disrespectful to me, to Michael, and to everyone who's come to celebrate our marriage." "You're being ridiculous," Amber insisted, though her voice had lost some of its earlier conviction. "I just wanted to look nice." "There are hundreds of colors to choose from," I replied evenly. "You deliberately chose white. A dress that looks remarkably bridal. On my wedding day." "I think it's a beautiful dress," she defended, smoothing the fabric. "I just wanted to look my best." "For who?" Kayla interjected. "This isn't a competition or a dating opportunity. It's Jessica's wedding." Amber's cheeks flushed. "I just meant." "We know exactly what you meant," Sarah cut in, uncharacteristically assertive. "You've been trying to upstage Jessica since the engagement was announced." "That's not true." Amber protested, though her eyes darted away guiltily. "The wine you spilled on the fabric samples?" Jen reminded her. "The constant suggestions to change perfectly good plans? The accidental deletion of the final menu from Jessica's computer? I hadn't even known about that last one." I looked at Amber in disbelief, seeing her clearly perhaps for the first time in years. This wasn't just wedding stress or her usual competitiveness, this was calculated sabotage. "Why?" I asked simply. "Why would you do this to me?" Something in my tone must have pierced her defenses, because Amber's expression crumpled slightly. "You don't understand what it's like," she said, her voice smaller now. "Being your stepsister. Always being compared to you. Why can't you be organized like Jessica? Jessica got into her first choice college. Jessica has such a creative job. Jessica found such a perfect man." "Who says these things?" I asked, genuinely confused. "Not Mom or David." "Everyone," she exclaimed. "My friends, my co-workers when you planned that charity event at the dental practice. Even my ex-boyfriends. Do you know what Ryan said when we broke up last year? That I was too much drama, unlike my level-headed stepsister." The revelation that she had dated Michael's best man was news to me, but I filed that information away to process later. "So this," I gestured to her dress, "is revenge? For things I have no control over?" "No," she protested, then hesitated. "Maybe. I don't know. For once, I wanted people to look at me. To see me." The door opened again, and this time it was David, my stepdad, looking confused and concerned. "What's going on?" "The coordinator says we're significantly behind schedule." His eyes landed on Amber, and his expression shifted from confusion to disbelief. "Amber, what are you wearing?" "Don't start, Dad," she warned, but I could see her resolve weakening. David looked from Amber to me, quickly assessing the situation. "Everyone except Amber and me, please give us the room for 5 minutes, he requested firmly. My mother seemed about to protest, but something in David's expression stopped her. She ushered the bridesmaids and vendors out, squeezing my hand supportively as she passed. 5 minutes, she whispered. Then we need to get moving." Once the door closed, David turned to his daughter. "Explain yourself." Amber launched into the same justifications she'd given us, but David held up a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "No. The truth, Amber. Now." Something about his tone, not angry, but deeply disappointed, seemed to break through her defenses. Her shoulders slumped, and to my surprise, tears welled in her eyes. "I just wanted to feel special," she whispered. "Just once." "By hurting your sister on her wedding day?" David asked quietly. "Stepsister," Amber corrected automatically, then looked ashamed. I didn't think it would hurt her. I thought. I don't know what I thought. David sighed heavily. Amber, we've talked about this. Your need for attention doesn't justify hurting others. Jessica has done nothing but include you in her life, in her wedding. I know, she admitted, voice small. Then why? I asked again, needing to understand. Amber looked at me, really looked at me, perhaps for the first time that day. Because you have everything I want, she admitted. A career you love. A man who adores you. Parents who are proud of you. And you make it all look so easy. Easy? I laughed incredulously. Amber, nothing about my life has been easy. I work 60-hour weeks during event season. Michael and I went through couples therapy last year when his hospital schedule nearly broke us. I have panic attacks before big events that I hide from everyone, including Mom. Her eyes widened slightly. You do? Of course I do. Nobody's life is perfect, including mine. But I don't try to sabotage the people I love when they're happy. The statement hung in the air between us. David looked at his watch. We don't have time for a full therapy session right now. Jessica's wedding is supposed to start in 40 minutes. Amber, you need to change into your bridesmaid dress immediately. But, she began. No, he said firmly. This isn't a discussion. You will change, or you will leave. Those are your only options. For a tense moment, I thought she might choose to leave. Then her shoulders slumped in defeat. Fine. I'll change. And? David prompted. Amber looked at me, genuine remorse finally showing in her eyes. I'm sorry, Jessica. I was being selfish. This is your day, not mine. Relief washed over me, but it was tinged with sadness. This should have been a joyful morning of sisterly bonding, not a dramatic confrontation. Thank you, I said simply. A knock at the door interrupted the moment. Time's up, my mother called through the door. The planner is having a meltdown. 1 minute, David called back, then turned to us both. This isn't resolved, and we'll have a longer conversation after the honeymoon. But right now, we have a wedding to proceed with. He looked at Amber. Get changed. Now. As Amber disappeared into the bathroom with her blue bridesmaid dress, David pulled me into a hug. I'm sorry, he whispered. I had no idea she was planning this. It's not your fault, I assured him, fighting back tears that would ruin my carefully applied makeup. Still, he said, pulling back to look at me, you deserve better on your wedding day. You look beautiful, by the way. Your father would have been so proud. His mention of my dad brought a fresh wave of emotion. Thank you, I managed. As David left to help get guests seated, I took a deep breath and checked my reflection. Despite everything, I was still getting married today. Nothing, not even Amber's antics, would change that. Just as the situation seemed under control, another knock came at the suite door. When Kayla opened it, I was surprised to see Tara, my childhood best friend who had moved to Chicago years ago. We'd kept in touch but not closely, and while she was invited to the wedding, she hadn't been able to attend the rehearsal dinner. Tara! I exclaimed, genuinely delighted. You made it. Wild horses couldn't keep me away, she grinned, pulling me into a careful hug that avoided disturbing my dress or makeup. Though I almost missed my flight. What's going on? There's a very stressed woman with a clipboard downstairs saying something about a bridesmaid situation. Before I could explain, Tara noticed the tension in the room and the closed bathroom door. Let me guess, she said, lowering her voice. Amber drama? I nodded, not wanting to rehash the whole story. Say no more, Tara replied, setting down a large bag I hadn't noticed before. I came prepared. Prepared for what? I asked. For emergencies. She unzipped the bag to reveal what looked like a portable bridal kit, safety pins, fashion tape, a small sewing kit, stain remover, pain relievers, and, to my astonishment, a folded blue dress. Why do you have a blue dress? Kayla asked, voicing my thoughts. Because I know Amber, Tara said simply. We've been following each other on social media, and let's just say I had a hunch something might happen. This is a backup bridesmaid dress in the exact shade you chose. I called the boutique last week to confirm. I stared at her in amazement. You bought a backup dress just in case? Actually, I bought two, she admitted. Different sizes. Better safe than sorry. The bathroom door opened, and Amber emerged, now wearing her proper bridesmaid dress, though her expression was sullen. She stopped short at the sight of Tara. What is she doing here? Amber asked, her tone making it clear there was no love lost between them. She's a wedding guest, I replied. And apparently our guardian angel. Tara smiled tightly at Amber. Nice to see you too. Glad you made the right choice with the dress. Amber's eyes narrowed suspiciously at Tara's bag. Were you expecting me to cause problems? Let's just say I remember the time you accidentally spilled punch on Jessica's prom dress because Tyler Matthews said it was pretty, Tara replied coolly. Some patterns don't change. I had forgotten about that incident. Amber had been 16 at the time, and I'd assumed it was genuinely an accident. Seeing her expression now, I realized it hadn't been. That was years ago, Amber muttered. I've grown up since then. Have you? The new voice belonged to Ryan, Michael's best man, who had returned to check on the delay. His eyes locked with Amber's, and I sensed a history there far more complex than I'd realized. Ryan, Amber acknowledged stiffly. I'm surprised Michael let you come up here. He doesn't know I'm here, Ryan admitted. I volunteered when the planner started panicking about the timeline. His gaze swept over Amber's now appropriate attire. I see you changed. Good decision. Something in his tone suggested more than casual approval. I looked between them, connecting dots I should have seen long ago. You two were serious, weren't you? Not just dating. Amber's cheeks flushed. It doesn't matter now. It matters if it's why you've been trying to sabotage my wedding, I countered. Ryan cleared his throat uncomfortably. I should probably mention that Amber called me last week. She told me about her dress plan and asked if I thought it would be, how did you phrase it, Amber? A fun surprise for Jessica? All eyes turned to Amber, who suddenly seemed unable to meet anyone's gaze. And what did you tell her? My mother asked Ryan. I told her it was a terrible idea that would hurt Jessica and potentially ruin the wedding, he stated firmly. I thought she'd dropped the plan. Obviously, I was wrong. You knew? I asked Amber, a fresh wave of betrayal washing over me. You knew it would hurt me and you did it anyway? For the first time, genuine shame crossed Amber's face. I wasn't thinking clearly. Ryan and it ended badly last year. When I found out he was Michael's best man, I just wanted to show him what he was missing. Tara finished for her. By trying to outshine your sister at her own wedding? Amber's silence was answer enough. Oh, Amber, my mother sighed, disappointment evident in her voice. The wedding coordinator burst into the room, clipboard clutched to her chest like a shield. We're now 45 minutes behind schedule. The minister has another ceremony across town at 4. We need to start in 15 minutes or we'll have to significantly cut the ceremony. This was getting ridiculous. My perfect day was unraveling because of petty jealousy and old relationship drama. Something inside me snapped, not in anger this time, but in clarity. Enough, I said firmly, drawing everyone's attention. This stops now. Amber, we will have a longer conversation after the honeymoon, but right now, I need to know, are you going to support me today as my sister and maid of honor, or not? Amber looked around the room, seeing the disappointment in my mother's eyes, the challenge in Tara's, the lingering hurt in Ryan's, and finally, the ultimatum in mine. Something seemed to break in her as well, a wall of defensiveness crumbling to reveal the insecure woman beneath. I'm sorry, she whispered, and this time I could tell she meant it. I don't know what's wrong with me. Of course I support you. You're my sister. Stepsister, Tara corrected pointedly. No, Amber said, looking directly at me. She's my sister. Period. And I've been terrible to her. To my shock, tears began streaming down her face, ruining her carefully applied makeup. Jessica, I'm so sorry. I've been jealous and petty and I don't deserve to stand up with you today. Her raw honesty caught me off guard. This wasn't the calculated Amber I'd been dealing with for months. This was the vulnerable girl I'd helped navigate high school hallways, the one who'd cried on my shoulder after her first heartbreak. The white dress is still in the bathroom, she continued. I'll call an Uber and go home. You deserve better than having me ruin your day. As she turned to gather her things, I surprised myself by catching her arm. Wait. Amber looked at me, eyes wide with surprise. I don't want you to leave, I said honestly. I want my sister at my wedding. The sister who stayed up all night helping me study for finals. Who defended me when Lisa Chambers spread rumors about me in high school. Who knew exactly what to say when I didn't get that first big client. Fresh tears welled in Amber's eyes. After everything I've done? Family is complicated, I acknowledged. We hurt each other, but we also heal each other. If you're genuinely sorry and want to be here, really be here, for me and Michael, then stay. I do, she nodded emphatically. But my makeup is ruined, and we're out of time, Anne. I've got this, Tara interjected, already pulling makeup remover and a compact from her emergency bag. 5 minutes and she'll be presentable. The coordinator looked like she might faint from stress but nodded tightly. 5 minutes. Not 1 second more. As Tara worked quickly to repair Amber's makeup, my mother pulled me aside. Are you sure about this, honey? After what she tried to pull? I'm sure, I said, surprising myself with how certain I felt. Today is about love and commitment. What kind of example would I be setting if I couldn't even show forgiveness to my own sister? Mom squeezed my hand. You're a better person than most. I learned from the best, I replied, kissing her cheek. 5 minutes later, Amber emerged from Tara's ministrations looking appropriately bridesmaid-like in her blue dress, her makeup fresh though simpler than before, her expression genuinely contrite. Thank you, she said softly to me. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Probably not, I agreed with a small smile. But you have it anyway. Just promise me one thing. Anything. No more surprises today. Good or otherwise. She laughed shakily. Promise. The coordinator, seeing that crisis had been averted, ushered us into position. As we prepared to process down the aisle, 50 minutes later than planned, but proceeding nonetheless, I felt a strange sense of peace replace the morning's chaos. Today had already tested the meaning of commitment and forgiveness, and I hadn't even said my vows yet. The ceremony itself was everything I had dreamed it would be. Despite the delay, the minister graciously adjusted his schedule, and the late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the vineyard as I walked down the aisle on David's arm. When I caught sight of Michael waiting for me, his eyes filled with wonder and love, all the morning's drama melted away. This moment, this man, was what mattered. The vows we had written together felt even more meaningful after the emotional roller coaster of the day. When Michael promised to choose us, every day, through challenges and celebrations, I felt the words resonate deeply within me. My own vow to face life's storms together, finding rainbows even in the darkest clouds, seemed particularly apt. As we exchanged rings and were pronounced husband and wife, I caught Amber's eye over Michael's shoulder. She was smiling genuinely, tears tracking down her cheeks. When she mouthed "I'm sorry" again, I responded with a small nod of acknowledgement and forgiveness. The reception was a beautiful blur of congratulations, dancing, delicious food, and poignant toasts. To my surprise and relief, Amber's maid of honor speech was heartfelt and appropriate, even touching. Jessica has been my role model and my rock since our parents brought us together 15 years ago, she said, her voice steady despite her obvious emotion. While I haven't always shown it well, I've always admired her strength, her creativity, and her capacity for love. Michael, you're getting not just a wife but a woman who understands that family isn't about perfection, it's about showing up, forgiving, and choosing each other again and again. I know this because she's shown me that grace more times than I deserve. Her words brought fresh tears to my eyes, and when she raised her glass in a toast, I felt a renewed connection with the sister I had feared I was losing. Later, during a brief quiet moment between dances, Amber found me at the edge of the reception. "Can we talk?" she asked hesitantly. "Just for a minute." I nodded, and we stepped away from the noise of the celebration, finding a quiet spot beneath twinkling lights strewn through the vineyard's trees. "I need to properly apologize," she began. "Not just for today, but for years of competitive behavior. You didn't deserve any of it." "Why?" I asked gently. "What I said earlier was true, I never saw us as in competition." Amber sighed, looking out over the darkening vineyard. I think I've always felt like I needed to prove I belonged. When Dad and I moved in with you and your mom, you were already so established, in the house, in school, in the neighborhood. You had this unbreakable bond with your mom, and I worried Dad and I were just extras in your story. Her vulnerability surprised me. "I never saw you that way." "I know that now," she acknowledged. "But teenage insecurity isn't rational. And then as we got older, you just seemed to excel at everything so naturally. College, career, relationships. Meanwhile, I was struggling to figure out what I even wanted." "I struggle too," I reminded her. "You just never see that part. Because you handle it with grace," she said. "Something I'm clearly still working on." She hesitated before continuing. "The thing with Ryan, that was real. At least for me. When he ended things, saying I was too dramatic compared to you, it reinforced every insecurity I've ever had." "I'm sorry," I said sincerely. "That must have hurt terribly." "It did. But it doesn't excuse what I tried to do today." She met my eyes directly. "Thank you for not kicking me out. I wouldn't have blamed you if you had." "We're family," I said simply. "That means something to me." "It means something to me too," she replied. "And I promise I'm going to work on being a better sister. Starting now." "I'd like that," I smiled. "And Amber? For what it's worth, I've always admired things about you too, your spontaneity, your ability to command attention in a room, your fearlessness. We're different, but that's not a bad thing." She laughed softly. "Maybe we could learn from each other a bit more." "I'd like that too." The DJ's voice announced the final dances of the evening, and Michael appeared, offering his hand to me. "Mind if I steal my wife for a dance?" "She's all yours," Amber said, and I could tell she meant it. "Take good care of her." "Always," Michael promised. As he led me back to the dance floor, I glanced over my shoulder to see Amber watching us with a genuine smile, no jealousy, no competition, just happiness for her sister on her wedding day. The next month passed in a blissful honeymoon haze. Michael and I spent 2 glorious weeks in Hawaii, completely disconnected from family drama and work stress, focused solely on beginning our married life together. When we returned home, I was nervous about seeing Amber again, wondering if our reconciliation would last beyond the emotional wedding day. To my pleasant surprise, she had left a welcome home basket on our porch, filled with groceries, wine, and a card that simply read, "Welcome home, Mr. and Mrs. Cooper. Dinner at my place next Sunday? Love, Amber." That Sunday dinner became a new tradition. Over the following months, Amber and I rebuilt our relationship on more solid ground. She started therapy to work through her insecurities, and I made more effort to share my struggles with her rather than always presenting a perfect facade. As for Ryan, he and Amber eventually had their own conversation about what went wrong. While they didn't rekindle their romance, they found a way to be friends, another small healing in our extended family circle. Looking back on my wedding day now, I see it as more than just the beginning of my marriage. It was also the beginning of a more authentic relationship with my sister, one built on honesty, forgiveness, and genuine acceptance of each other's flaws and strengths. Family isn't perfect. Sisters, even stepsisters, hurt each other, compete, misunderstand, and sometimes even try to steal the spotlight. But when there's real love underneath it all, there's always a path back to each other. Sometimes, it takes a wedding day crisis to reveal what truly matters. Have you ever experienced family drama at a wedding or important event? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below to share your story. And if you enjoyed this tale of sisterhood, forgiveness, and finding beauty even in imperfect moments, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about navigating family relationships. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes the most meaningful parts of our journey aren't the perfect moments, but how we handle the imperfect ones together.